Welcome everyone for the October edition of CDR Berlin. I'm not that surprised that there are a lot of guys in the room, but I appreciate all the females in the room as well, because this is going to be very geeky tonight. So we thought we split this into two sessions. We start with this bunch of guys, and then we'll have the second round after a little pause. So let me introduce the guests. I'm quite happy that we have a lot of musical heavyweights here on the couch tonight. Mike has been around for decades in the music business, started in the mid-80s, and is part of Maertini Bros now, released 4 albums, and he will show us what he does with the SID station.
Yeah, even a little more, but thank you for the invitation, and hello to everybody. Actually, the other day I thought maybe 20 minutes would be too short to explain everything, when we try to make it as quick as possible. So, hope you enjoyed the night then.
Oh, you can keep it now.
Oh, okay, super.
I turn on the mute.
Okay.
So, 20 minutes is definitely too short because we got a lot of stuff here, but I think you'll be stick around, so if people have any questions afterwards, they can still come up to you. And why did you pick the SID station? And maybe you can actually explain what this device is for.
I picked the SID station because it's very noisy. What you hear in the background is actually the noise what comes out at the moment. So if you listen closely, it's the one. And when I was starting making music, I was playing guitar, and when I switched over to electronic music, I always missed this kind of roughness within the electronic. So I was searching for a thing in between analog and electronic. And a couple of years ago, I met somebody who told me about the SID station, so I went off and bought it. And the SID station is actually, it's based on a C64 Commodore chip. So it means there's a little chip inside, and on top of it, 3 oscillators who do quite nice sound.
And it never shuts off, actually. The oscillator is always on, right?
Yeah. It's always
so that's
on.
what you hear in the background. It was based on the Commodore 64, so
exactly.
All the Super Mario sounds were made with that sound chip.
All in there. The thing is that nowadays, because I was thought, okay, we work with a lot of computers and plugins and everything, and you see a lot of movies, films and documentations how to use this and that. And it actually didn't make sense to show any plugins that I like or other synths, so I would choose this one. And I used this one especially in that moment when I want to go back, or get an idea. And sometimes I even use the noise in between and sample that one, because it has its very, very unique 8-bit sound. For example, you want to hear an example?
Do we want to hear an example?
Do you want to hear? Sounds like okay. So I hope the volume is okay. Oops, a little loud. See?
You're awake now.
Okay, turn it up. Turn it up on that one. Okay. Basically, you see that? So it stays. I love this. And then what you actually can do is you have these 4 controllers, which you can you tell inside whatever you needs to do. You can also do is if you use an external controller and MIDI, and then you control the functions inside, because the display is really small and it's really hard to change sounds. So, for example, this one I can give you an example. I give you the microphone for a second.
Yeah. So it's very good if you want to do a new wave record or an industrial record.
I hear this and I'm taken on 20 years back. I don't know. So we have, for example, and this is not the only thing that you can do. We can also do that one, which I really like. So you can use the chip, your Commodore C64 chip, for example, and do. Wait, hold on. Let's see. I just want you to love me with beautiful. You know, you like this. You make a little solo show. There you go. Oh honey, I love you so. You know, stuff like that. Yeah.
So that's actually all you need.
Yes, it's actually all you need. But you can also, what you can also do is this has an external input, so you can. Let me see. You can. What you can do is any synth drum machine. You can put it in and modulate while you're playing. So it's quite. It inspires me quite well.
And you are quite known for doing live sets with a lot of hardware, actually. Yeah. It's not that you are checking emails while you do a live set on a laptop.
Oh, no, I saw that recently, and it looked really weird. No, we always used live stuff. I remember when we played with the Maertini Brass, we used a Yamaha SU700, which was very useful. And in the beginning, we used the archive samplers, and we used... Atari. We used an Atari on stage. That was the first time we used a computer on stage. But it's difficult, you know. You always it's the bass in the club and everything that you know. I remember we played in Regensburg, for example, and there was we played on the bass bins, and really didn't work. We had an Archive, and we had the Cubase on, and everything suddenly went so slow. And it, you know, doesn't work. So this one always works. So you should switch to if you want to do a good live show, you switch to analog instruments.
But they don't make that device anymore. I think they stopped 2006 or so when they bought the last C64 chips.
Yeah, but there's still chips available, and I definitely need to buy one on eBay because I fear if that one goes off that I'd actually have another one to put in because I don't want to lose that. This is really, you know, it's one of my favorite gears that I have.
Perfect.
You can see the Pac-Man running.
That's true. And next up we have Yannick, aka Quarion. He's known for releases on Drum Poet Community on his own label called Retreat Records. But he also used to do a lot of hip hop, even some drum and bass records. So you crossed the whole field.
Yeah, that's true.
And you brought us a device called the Moog Minotaur.
Yeah, I actually came across this synthesizer because I was looking for a synthesizer to use while I was playing live. And because I was only playing bass lines, I thought, okay, it would make sense to find a synthesizer that only does bass lines. And I just came across it and tried it, and I loved it instantly. And actually, since I have it, I use it way, way more for my studio stuff. It's kind of became one of the central pieces of equipment because I just discovered you can do so much more than actually bass sounds.
But that was what it was initially built for, right? It's kind of the version that you can use together with a plugin and then use it mostly as a bass synthesizer.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, that's why they made it. I mean, it's written there, analog bass synthesizer, and it is a bass synthesizer in the sense that actually you can only play until a certain note. Like it stops at C4, which is like you cannot do like string sounds or stuff like that. But somehow, I mean, if you really dig into the machine, there's some ways to go around it. And I've always liked machines where you get limited by some things and you try to go over this limit to come up with some special sounds. And I think this one is really good for that sort of stuff.
So what are all the knobs for?
Yeah, well, the thing is, it's really nice because it's quite small, but you still have all the basics you would like from an analog synthesizer. First of all, you have 2 oscillators, which you can choose each of them either between a square or a saw wave. One of the oscillators, you can also change the tuning, the frequency. There's a very nice low-pass filter, for which Moog are always famous for. And you have 2 sets of envelopes, one for the amplifier and one for the filter. There's only one little thing, is actually because they kept it so compact, instead of having 4 knobs for the envelope, like the typical attack, decay, sustain, and release, they slim it down to 3 knobs. And like one of the knobs is doing 2 functions at the same time. And you need to go around it to use it properly. But still, it still works very nice. And on top of that, you also have an LFO that you could send to the filter or the frequency. And they really packed a lot of stuff in this small synthesizer. One of the stuff I really like the most is you actually have also an analog input, so you can run any sound through it. Like I used to sometimes run a synthesizer through it and then add the synthesizer of the Minitor, and you come up with some really fat chord sound. It's really nice.
So how do you implement it into your live sets?
Yeah, well, like I said, I use it mostly for bass lines, and the nice thing is you can control it via MIDI or directly with the USB. And what I do is I have like some MIDI sequences to play the bass lines, so I can show you some stuff.
So you have it connected to Ableton right here. So
Yeah.
I guess most of you can't really see what's on the computer. Maybe we can slide it down just a little bit.
Yeah. So this is like a typical bass sound I really like. It's kind of a bit like Larry Heard would do, or like the early Detroit techno stuff. Really nice square wave. And this is for when I prepare my live set. Is the nice thing you can do. I search for a sound, and actually there's a way to like save the sound within the machine and then record a preset while you're playing live. So I just need to change a button and then I can change the preset easily. But this sound, it's really nice when if you play with a filter, it's just, if you add more resonance. Get all these nice harmonics if you want to do some acid or stuff like that.
So how do you use it for something else than bass sounds?
Well, actually, most of the time I just like to play with it, like start from scratch and then see if I can come up with something a bit more special. I actually had a little example here that I couldn't program it because I don't remember how I did it, but I came up with this weird melody that actually, because it's limited in the scale, I couldn't go further than C4, but it brings just something quite nice. it's like you can hear some weird harmonics going on, and the filter going a bit wild. So.
Can I ask you something? Is it monophonic? That's monophonic, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
It is monophonic, but like I said, the nice thing is you can change the frequency of one of the oscillators. So you can basically come up with at least 2 note chords. And if you're really into synthesis, you can also, if you put the resonance to the maximum and play with the filter, then you can also come up with another harmonics. I mean, yeah, it's... Yeah.
SidStation is even mono, right?
No.
No? Oh, sorry.
It's polyphonic. Sorry, I'm
It's good.
mono. It's not. SidStation is polyphonic.
Okay.
Yeah. It depends on the sound. You can say if you want to, how many voices you want to play. This is quite open.
It's a stereo output? It's a stereo
Okay,
output?
no, it's a mono output.
It's a mono output.
It's mono
but
output.
it's
That's
polyphonic.
why it was so loud, because the only input that we have is like microphone input. That's yeah.
That's how you can turn a 2-channel mixer into a 3-channel mixer.
Exactly.
So what else do you use on stage?
Well, I like to change my live sets every once in a while, but for now what I've been doing is running Ableton with the Moog Minitor and Roland TR909, who does like the beats from time to time, and then I have a controller. But yeah, I'm thinking to change my setup actually for next year or so.
But is there more a budget version as well, where you could say, okay, well, there's a bass synthesizer as well, or a plugin that one could use? Or what makes this machine so special?
Well, like I said, I mean, really, if you want bass sounds, I think this one really has it. But what I like is I can fit, it always fits in my track, even if it's just a small sound there or an effect. Just the sound aesthetic is, I don't know, I just feel it very juicy. And it's, I just love to work with it. I don't know if it's because the knobs or something, but I just feel really, really good with this machine whenever I plug it in. And I somehow always seem to find new ways of working with it. I mean, like I said, with the audio input or stuff like that, it's just, yeah, I feel like the possibilities are endless. So, really nice.
Okay. How do you start building a track?
Well, actually, I usually start with drum sounds, but I've been trying recently to really start from scratch and maybe actually starting with the sequence I would do here, like just having some simple notes playing and see if I can come up with something a bit more freaky or hypnotic, like. I don't know, I would have like a loop going on, but that's not 4/4, a bit more 3 or something, and then see if I can change the sound and come up with something a bit more interesting. Then maybe try to change one of the oscillators' frequency.
I can see the spark in your eyes, Mike. You look like I want to twist those knobs.
No, it's really hard for me to sit here and do nothing. Because it feels like on the stage. I mean, he's doing something. I think, okay, it's interesting. I could come in with something else. So
do it. Actually, we want to keep this an open discussion. You can probably tell that probably 90% of the people in the audience are much more of a tech geek than I am. So you have probably much more interesting questions to ask than I do. So we have a microphone to pass around if you have any questions and just want to be part of the discussion. Does it come with wood panels? Okay.
Yeah, you
we
can.
Go by look.
You can.
Okay.
You have to pay extra, but you can have it.
Interesting. Okay.
That's for the real nerds. It just looks nicer. It doesn't add something to the sound, but you just feel even more inspired with the wood.
Come with the fur cover as well.
Yeah, I think that's the next step. Yeah, that's the next step.
There's a programmer for it as well. For the computer, you can program extra.
Exactly. Yeah, that's also the nice thing about it, which actually, unfortunately, I can't show on this computer because it's too old for the program. But I use it on my studio computer. There's a very nice software with actually much more. A couple of other features that are not on the knobs here. Like you can change a few features within this program, and then you can also handle this whole presets with saving and editing. And it's really well done too.
Any more questions? You are invited as well, of course.
Is it? Do you have presets on it as well? Okay.
Yeah, like I said, I've did some presets, and with this program, you save them in the computer, and then you re-inject them back, and there's a way to like switch between presets. Yeah. Very, very handy.
All right, so to my left and to your right, I have Matthew Stiles, who was part of Crosstown Rebels, the label. He released a lot of records under his own name, but he's also responsible for mixing down a lot of artists that I guess most of you are familiar with. Radio Slave, just one of them, Tough City Kids, Nick Höppner, and many other artists that you kind of help them to get the proper mix together. So if we have people here who actually do have some questions, they might be able to bother you later on. Yeah. Sure. So what did you bring us?
I bought a sequencer, the Sequentix Circlon, which is a MIDI sequencer and CV gate. It's built by one man called Colin Fraser in Scotland. I think it's been quite a labour of love for him for a number of years. He made a sequencer called a P3, which kind of had a cult following for the last 5-10 years, and he felt that he could improve on that and make something much better, which I think he's achieved. I think in the last year or two, there's been quite a lot of resurgence in analog sequencing and people moving away from the computer for sequencing. A bit more hands-on, whether that be with a drum machine, like an MPC, or even these step sequences from Dopfer, and I think Arturia have just made a little USB one now. Anyway, with this one, it's quite powerful. It's got 5 MIDI outputs and 8 CV gate outputs as well, which come on an expander, which I didn't bring with me tonight. You can program drums, chords, melodies. It's quite a flexible thing. You can build whole songs on this. It's kind of a 909 style programming. You can see on the bottom row here, with the lights. You can turn the steps on and off, and then you have the encoders to change the values. I don't think you can see it on the screen very well. Can you see the display at all? Can anyone see that? Yeah, it's you've got kind of a visual feedback on there, what the note numbers are. So at the moment it's just on all C4. Let me just press play. Let's see. Okay. It's just an FMA on the laptop. So I've got an FMA battery and a couple of other. I couldn't really bring like a bunch of drum machines and keyboards with me. So can you maybe hold that for me? It's easier to program. So you can change it by the notes by octaves or semitones, and you can just write in. can also change the direction of the sequence. So this is reverse. Pendulum, so the sequence plays backwards and forwards. Random.
It's kind of based on the sequencing that you used from a 909, or?
Kind of, it's cross between like 909 and this kind of analog sequencing that was like with the ARP and all this kind of early sequences from the past. If I go back to forward, you can then change many of the parameters. So you can change the velocities easily, the note lengths. It's a bit difficult. You can even delay the notes, or skip the notes. It's also possible to force it to scale and transpose the whole sequence. So if this is at like -5 now, but if you have it on a force to scale, you can force it to transpose but stay within the scale that you've chosen. So at the moment it's in a blues, but I could change it to a pentatonic.
You also have different groove patterns in there?
There's a swing. So the swing is based on the 909 shuffle, which is kind of a classic swing. So I can transpose the whole thing down. The good thing about this is if you have multiple instruments connected and you have chords and everything else all playing, you can transpose the whole song in one go and everything will stay in key. So this is quite a powerful tool for kind of...
So one question that comes to my mind very quickly is that when you have a sequencer that works on a software base and you have a large screen where you can sequence all your MIDI notes, what's the advantage of a machine like this?
This is hands-on. So it's like if you're using Logic or something like that, you're always clicking a mouse, but here you feel like maybe you have your hands on the sequence, on the notes, you know. Also, additionally, you can not just program it by hand. You can play a keyboard and it will record the notes. There's an arpeggiator function, and you can make the sequences not just this is just a 16 steps, but you can make it up to 64 steps.
So what do you usually use to as an external equipment? I mean, right now you have it hooked up to Ableton, right?
Yeah, and then I've got another sequence here, which is with battery. So you can just write the. You can map what kind of instrument you have. So whether it's a snare, you know, like you've got the kick drum, the snare is you can write in and save the parameters of each one. So. It's much faster than using Logic or Ableton.
Well, it probably just depends on what you're used to, right?
This is just a battery, and then I've got another, just like a bass line. You can also save each pattern and recall those at any point. So,
can you record what you're doing at the moment? I mean, can you record that inside?
The sequence.
Yeah, what do you do now?
The sequence is always like saved. It's just, you don't have to save anything. It's just constantly, it's automatically saved. You can save say if I like this sequence and then I wanted to make another one, you could save that sequence and then come back to it, and then you could organize like whole songs.
So pattern-wise.
Exactly. Yeah, like kind of like an MPC style.
Okay.
And then there's many like cool. There's a lot of functions to kind of to cover, so it's difficult to know what's the best place to. If I come back to let me go back to this melody again. So you can also randomize different elements of the sequence. So we've got this sort of basic melody here, and then here you can then say randomize note. So then you could but because you have this forced to scale, it'll always keep it within the key of the song. Okay. So you can have these evolving sequences that are just constantly changing and never really repeating themselves. It's also quite nice if you shorten the sequence.
So don't worry if you don't see what's on the display. I'm sitting right next to it, and it's too fast for me as well. So
okay. I just shorten the sequence to 3 steps, and from that you can randomize. You can just randomize the notes, so it's constantly evolving the. Can you see that a bit better on the screen? Is that focusing at all? No. It's just the steps and the parameters of each step. I didn't think about that when I bought it. I should have had a plug out for the screen or something.
As always with those displays, I remember on my EMU sampler, the display was the first thing to fail after a while.
I think there's actually a function to change the brightness, but I didn't want to call Colin I think that's the other beauty of the guy who developed it. He's got a forum, and users can interact with him and tell him features that they want to have, and if he likes the feature, then he'll add it. So it's kind of open source, not that you can code it yourself, but he'll try and accommodate all the requests.
That's always I've found when you play live, for example, and you have the switch of the lights goes from red to green to blue. It's sometimes it was really hard to see what you're actually doing, because because if you have like a blue screen, it will match, and
then
it will go off, then you don't see it anymore. So
the worst is red, isn't it? The red. If I ever used to play CDs and you had a red pen on there, and suddenly the CD looks blank.
Yeah.
With
question is how much it costs.
It's £1,000, I think, with the CV I/O, which is like a 1U unit with 8 gates and 16 CVs, but you can configure how you want that to be. So you could have all 16 of the CVs going to different modulation sources. Apparently, you're supposed to implement CV in as well for modulating parameters, and I mean you can set everything randomized, so you could randomize all the note lengths, all the timings, everything, and just have a big mess, but it would be harmonic. So I think that's the beauty of it. You don't necessarily if you plug a keyboard into it and hit it with your fist, it always sounds good. So maybe some people like that.
It's good for those moments.
It's good for me. It's good for me. You don't really pay much attention.
Do you improvise a lot when you play live, or do you have we were touched about the sound in the live things, and I think it's quite difficult to fully improvise in a live, because you've got to be comfortable with that sound in order to this is a nice environment, and you could probably just jam here quite easily. But if you're in a big venue where there's a lot of echo, it's more hard to feel confident in what's coming out. Is actually but actually when you play live, does it take you off at one point and say, okay, I go off my concept and just improvise?
Yeah, you can just go for it. I think Max Lauterbauer he's quite a prominent user of it, and he uses it with his Buchla and all this stuff. And I mean, because it's got so many different outputs, you can really connect it to everything and have it as the main controller. So you can if you have a nice little groove or something, you can just lose yourself on that. And
so you could just hook up the Moog and also the SID station to it if you have the right MIDI cable.
Yeah. Or not even. You could just not sync it at all and just.
Maybe we'll just try that out later. But I think there was a question in the back.
Sure.
So you want a microphone or?
Are you not thinking about the mix down even in the early stages of your writing process?
Yeah, I think the artist is, but I don't. Mixing down a record for someone isn't necessarily like re-envisaging everything that they've done beforehand. Maybe it's just enhancing what they've done. Maybe they have a problem with like the kick drum coming through or the bass working, and I think it's the same with mastering. It's everyone. Mastering is just another set of ears, and helps you kind of fine tune your record. I mean, no one has to agree to something that they don't like.
Okay.
I mean, if I'm mixing a record for someone, they're totally. If they say they don't like it, they're totally welcome to that opinion, and so I think people. I think in the past people would there would be a composer, an arranger, the performers, an engineer, a mixer. A producer, and now everyone's expected to do it on their own, and I think it's not necessarily. It doesn't have to be that way.
True.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I think it's maybe it's beneficial to have more people involved sometimes in the process. If you look at the credits on many old records, it's a big team of people. So it doesn't have.
You also have to be a social media expert as well. So.
Exactly. So I think. It's all right to delegate the tasks a bit,
Any more questions? And there are no silly questions. This is very nerdy, as we said before, and I guess maybe some of you have lost it already and can't follow. That's totally normal. So you can just ask any kind of question that you're interested in. A lot of equipment here. A lot of very friendly artists on the couch.
People look like they want to use the stuff now and come on stage and use it and try it out instead of putting questions. I could imagine that the question would come up if the people would start using the stuff which is here on stage.
Which you can as well. In the break, we have to change the equipment as well, and maybe we can just leave it on as well. But you can also maybe, you said before, you can also do it without syncing. Can you?
Yeah.
Who wants to hear that? Oh, three people. Okay, well, then we just move on to the next session. So we have the opportunity to maybe hear those three instruments at the same time. So just give it a live improvisation go. No MIDI cable to connect it.
No sync. Sync is for...
What did you say before sync is for? check. They've never met before, so this is completely
with the
freestyle.
tempo. That's so it's going to be real life.
Ladies and gentlemen,
Thank you very
Quarion
much.
Styles Bros. So I guess we have time for 2 more questions if there are any, so be part of it. The MOOC thing.
Yeah,
With or without wood panels?
yeah, that's the big question actually. I think now it's around 600 or 550, which is actually for a Moog it's quite cheap. Usually they go a bit more, but I mean, yeah, honestly I really think it's perfect entry synthesizer if you want to start something. I think it's really good for that price. Yeah.
Okay, I think there was another question in very close.
About the Minotaur, you said that the envelopes had 3 functions instead of 4, and 2 work simultaneously. Can you show us and tell us which of the 4?
Yeah, yeah, because they have limited space. They put the decay and the release button on the same. So actually, you have to like put a switch if you wanna. Like at first, they did a version where the first version you can either use one of them, and you need to press the release switch to change the envelope. I think I'll see if I look. My computer is dying, but yeah, let's see. Yeah. What? Is it your lifestyle? Yeah, but I didn't put the power on. That's why. So if I just I mean, here, for example, this knob like only does the decay, and if I press, nothing happens. Hold on. Okay. Like I stopped the sequence, but you can hear the release like still going on. And the thing is, afterwards, they implemented a version where you actually need like to keep pressing on the button, and you enter like a kind of new mode, which means if you touch now the decay, you really control the decay. But if you touch the decay with the release button pressed, you actually use the release. So it's like it's much better. Here I'm back to like only using the decay, but if I press, now it changed the release. So it's something you need to get your head around it. But I think because they tried to cram so much stuff into this small thing, they had to they were limited into the amount of knobs you were using. But still, the good thing is I think they're really always working on the internal software, and every version they just add some new features, and which is why I think it's really good machine for that.
Okay, one more question here in the front. The mic is coming. Hold on.
I always see people using all these knobs and all these things. What do you think of things like Electribe and the Electribe EMX, where I kind of get the same result, but more intuitive, less knobs, and it just seems more, I don't know, I have the same way I have the line of buttons, and I see the path, and on the bottom I see it's a bit of a synthesizer kind of thing, and I have a few knobs and to change the sound. What do you think of that? Is that like a toy, or is this more
drum machines?
Yeah,
yeah,
cool.
It's great.
They're
amazing. Yeah, I think I think there's kind of a classic design now. Those corks. Okay. So I think they're quite overlooked because I mean people always want to talk about the new stuff, and it's either vintage or the latest thing that came out. But there's so many great instruments out there that you can. I mean, I was just looking at old Akai samplers on eBay today for like €50 or something. You can buy an S3000, which is a great thing, and it has a sound, and you don't necessarily have to spend 1,000, or you can build a good studio for a few hundred.
I actually realized that the output of those machines are very important because they much more pumping. And a 16-bit. Yeah. I was talking to somebody here in the audience. I said to him, if you use Ableton Live, just put sample it down from 24 to 16-bit. If you do it live, because it gives more punch. It helps a little. So because I was using that in a club. I was checking it out between 24 bits and 16-bit, and I just found that 16-bit sounds more rough. I mean, apparently you could see what I love, so that I love it a little bit, harder and rougher.
Digital sound is good. I think it's nice that we can show like new things here and stuff, but I think you can, and I'm sure some of the guys later will show their old samplers and things like that. They still do the business, and whether they're digital or analog, it doesn't. It's the musical idea that counts, and I think.
And using knobs, it's fine. I mean, as long as you know the knobs. I mean,
if it gets you there, there's no point to. Yeah, then that's you can do everything on that. It's fine. I think it's all valid. You shouldn't stop yourself because you think that other people maybe think that it's not valid.
Very nice key message. Yeah. You want to add to that?
Key message?
No, Matthew just dropped a key message. So
okay.
Maybe you want to add to that.
I was actually thinking of something else because with the knobs. Yeah. No, because I was remember when when I was a little kid, I was always taking all stuff apart and just wanted to know how it works, radios and whatsoever. So my parents got really pissed off about this, but I took everything apart and just wanted to see how it works. Maybe that's where it comes from, toys for boys,
All right, that was the end of the first session. Thanks a lot to Mike Vamp for Maertini Brewers, for Quarion, and for Matthew Styles.
Thank you very much for listening.